Hello and welcome to the Shutter Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Terry, and I am joined by Cam Sterling and Lucky Roberts, if you want to say hi.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Today, we will be previewing the 59th Super Bowl between the Philadelphia Eagles and Kansas City Chiefs. Keep in mind that it's not the 59th meeting between the two. It is just the 59th Super Bowl.
Feels like it.
Feels like it, yeah.
Yeah.
From the little leagues
To the pros.
This is your weekly sports show.
Welcome to the Shutter Sports Podcast.
Take a seat at the table as we discuss.
Okay, we are going to get right into it with our picks. We'll go around and say who we think is going to win. Cam.
Alrighty. Well, as a Cincinnati Bengals fan, this feels sacrilegious, but I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win simply based off the NFL never gives the fans what they want. And Patrick Mahomes is eventually going to get up to that Tom Brady tier when it comes to Super Bowls, and I think that's just another stepping stone in his journey, so he gets another Super Bowl ring. And it's pretty simple reasoning. I just think the NFL is pushing the Pat Mahomes narrative, and I think he comes home with this one against the Eagles team that he's beaten before.
Lucky.
Yeah, I just want to... So I have the Eagles in this game. I think it's very much a coin toss between both of these teams, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, do I want to have an opportunity where if I pick the Chiefs, if the Chiefs win, at least I have that to cheer for, or I can get double jeopardy if I pick the Eagles? And I said, you know what? I don't want to root for the Chiefs. Screw them. I'm going to root for the Eagles, and I think it's very clear that they have a way better running game than the Kansas City Chiefs. I think their offense is a lot easier to get into. I think a lot of the Chiefs' offense is just Patrick Mahomes' magic, dark magic, conjuring up stuff. And so I think the Eagles have really easy offense, right? Just give it to Saquon Barkley, push it over when it's 3rd and 1. And if you need to make a deep play, throw it to A.J. Brown on the sidelines, right? Like Devontae Smith. I don't think it's too tough for them. They also have, a rushing quarterback, which is really helpful. Defensively, I think they're almost as I think the Chiefs' secondary is better than the Eagles, but I think the front seven of the Eagles and Chiefs are very comparable. And I think Patrick Mahomes might actually struggle a little bit with this pass rush.
Yeah, I have almost the exact same thing as you of how each one lines up. I have the Eagles taking it because I do believe overall they are the better team. I get that, there's the whole Patrick Mahomes is going to do what Patrick Mahomes does. Yeah, it's going to happen at some point, but I feel like this Eagles team is a better team than when they last faced the Chiefs, and this Chiefs team isn't as good as they were before. So, but they are still two very, very good teams. It's going to be a really good game. But I do have the Eagles taking it if they can rely on Saquon, because if you put the game in Jalen Hurts' hands, that's when it gets questionable, for me at least, because there is a significantly weaker quarterback in this game.
I think you have to use him as a rusher in this game. You have to make his legs equal to Patrick Mahomes' arm, because that's how you sort of get around his other deficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
I do think the Eagles have good enough receivers to give the ball to Jalen Hurts so they can make a play instead of Jalen Hurts airing it out 50 yards like some of the league's best. But, the Eagles got to rely on their glutes on Sunday. So,
yeah, the running game is a huge, huge thing for Philly because Saquon Barkley is, if not the best running back in the league right now. Is it due to the O-line or is it part of Saquon or is it both? But they have an insane running game that I just don't believe the Chiefs are going to be able to stop.
I think we saw stuff out of Saquon that put him in the top 3 running backs in the league easily, and when you put him behind the best O-line in the entire league with some of the most historically best O-linemen that have played the game of football, I think it's a recipe for success. But it's Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. I don't want it to come down to politics, but I think it will. And they're just pushing the Mahomes narrative to get up to that Brady level. And like I said, this is just another step to that. And it'll be the first three-peat in Super Bowl history, which is another narrative to look at for the NFL to just make a lot more money. But I don't think the 3 quarterbacks to beat Patrick Mahomes should be Tom Brady, Joe Burrow, and then Jalen Hurts.
Did you see the Pat Riley owns the trademark or something?
Yeah, he makes
and he made
bank.
a deal. He made a deal
yeah.
with I think either the NFL or the Chiefs that hey, I'll let you use 3P on the merge. So one, he's getting bank off of it, but that being announced a couple days before the Super Bowl just makes me a bit suspicious.
Well, that's why when the Chiefs won the AFC Championship, they were trying to come up with Chiefs Pete and 3 Chief and
just absolutely brutal, corny sayings.
Tony Romo at his best. I mean, but yeah, that makes that it's one of the greatest copyrights in sports.
Yeah, that's huge.
How much money and how many times a three-peat has been possible.
It's historic.
The Golden State Warriors in the 2010s, the Lakers, obviously, which was the last one to do it. The Lakers in the early 2010s went 2 in a row. It happens a lot where there's a possibility of a three-peat, and everybody uses that term because it's been around since the 90s, and Pat Riley takes advantage of it.
Yeah, you just... What a genius idea from him.
It's historic. You don't remember who won the championship in 1978 in the NFL.
No.
Right? You remember three-peats, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not in football because there hasn't been any, but in basketball, you remember three-peats all the time. You remember those teams. This is going to be a historic team we're going to be thinking about in 20 years comparing other teams to, right? If they do go out and win on Sunday, this is one of the most historic franchises and franchise just going out and winning every single time. Whether it be due to the refs, whether it be due to the NFL wanting that for them.
People aren't going to be looking at the refs in 20 years.
Exactly.
They're going to be looking at the records, and the Chiefs will have 3 in a row.
Do you think this matchup is good for the NFL, is my opinion?
I think the fan bases are really big compared to some small market teams. So I guess that's good. It brings a lot of revenue into the NFL, but for people who aren't fans of the teams, they generally dislike those teams. For example, I've been a Toronto fan my entire life. I hate all Philly and Pennsylvania sports teams because the fans are so yappy and they're so immature. 76ers, Pittsburgh Steelers, Philadelphia Flyers. I just do not like that area of sports teams, which causes me to dislike the Eagles, even though they're such a fun and young team. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's the fan bases that make it less of a likable Super Bowl for people who aren't fans of those teams.
Yeah, I feel like it's a point of... It gets past the point of passionate to the point where it's just annoying. I love a passionate fan base, ones that just love their team inside out. But when it gets past the point of they're just doing it for the sake of doing it, they're like you said, yappy. It's all that. But from both sides as well. It's Chiefs fans finally get a good run of things and become unbearable.
Yeah.
It's just really, as a neutral in this, I guess, watching the Super Bowl, having no idea, of the teams, you just want to watch the Super Bowl, it will be fine for you. But as football fans, seeing these two, you don't want either fan base to win this game, but one of them has to have it, barring an alien invasion. That's
Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, it's just not annoying for fans of football, but it
just seems pointless.
Yeah, it's the matchup that going into the playoffs, I think nobody wanted, and they were afraid to say this is probably the most likely outcome. Yeah. We just don't want it to happen.
I go back and forth on it because on the fans sort of side of things, because I understand hating those teams every single time and hating the fan bases. But I also understand if I was in their shoes and I had been a losing franchise like the Chiefs were for a long, long time, I would want to eat up every second of it. And so I completely understand why fans do it. It's still annoying. It's still really frustrating because you wish you were them. But I can understand it a little bit, right? And I think from the side of things where, is it good for the NFL? I think this matchup, this is the last time the Chiefs in a Super Bowl is going to be good for the NFL. I think if they come back next year, I think there's going to be a little bit of just really? Like I think it's going to be a tipping point, and fans are just going to be like, what's the point of even watching if they're just going to win every year, right? I think this is the last year because it is the three-peat, and I don't know if they're having the same conversation up in the NFL headquarters, maybe a new team next year, but I have a feeling that there's going to be a little bit of a fan fight back if the Chiefs are as successful next year and win a championship. But they have to win this one first.
Yeah. I want to move this on to just a topic about the refs, because they have been putting out a statement or so saying that like it's hurtful that the fans think that they bias the Chiefs, and I just want to get your guys' thoughts on that.
So I think the refs, I think the NFL is different than other sports. I really do. I think there's a little bit of communication that because every single call that is on the Chiefs is non-consequential. So they'll say, "Hey, look, we have 5 penalties on them. We have the same amount of penalties." But you look back at the penalties, it's 2nd and 1, and then they get hit with a holding, right? And now it's 2nd and 10, still very manageable, right? Or it's pass interference, but it's like a 5-yard pass interference, something stupid like a holding. Doesn't really, and it's 1st and 5. They can still go 3 and out on this route. So I think it's really, and then when you look on the other side, especially against the Bills, every single one of those penalties were drive killers, right? It was like 2nd and 10, now you're 3rd and 20, right? You're 2nd and 20. And so I think it's just situationally where it gets so frustrating. And even in the Eagles Commanders game, there was a little bit of interesting calls because they had like 8 shots at the end zone. And a lot of those calls, on what's his freaking name, Lattimore.
Yeah.
Like he was holding, but you do see that holding, right? And so you see that holding like passed on a lot of the time, and especially for the Chiefs, you see it passed on. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I sort of see it's not the egregious calls, it's just every single little call, and then also the timing of it makes a big difference. Yeah. But I don't think it's super conscious by the refs. Like I don't think they're like the Chiefs have to win. I think they're like, okay, let's make this call now and see what happens, right? But they are. I think there is some sort of communication from upper management saying, this is the outcome we want. This is what we want you guys to keep an eye out for. Keep an eye out for this Eagles game, and then the refs hear that, and then they're like, okay, well, we've been notified about this. I'm going to call it.
Yeah. I do think it comes down to it's a lot worse when they make a call that isn't a penalty than when they don't make a call that is a penalty, because when they make a call that is a little bit shaky, it stops the momentum for both teams and completely switches the vibe of the game, and they start looking at the game in a different light when they shouldn't have to. When I go back to that redo play between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals a year or two ago, that could have easily been just a field goal for the Chiefs, but they stop it 2 plays later to say redo on 3rd and, I think it was 3rd and 10, and then the Bengals get caught offside when they get to 4th and 5 or something like that, and they get an instant 1st and 10. I mean, like, that completely not only switches the entire vibe of the game for the Bengals, but it also kind of switched the vibe for the Chiefs. Even though they do get a free first down, they could have gotten 3 points on the board, and they were going into the mindset of how to stop the Bengals on the next drive, So I think they just got to let them play. I mean, there's no harm, no foul if they miss a small call. I mean, there is harm if that call becomes the deciding factor in a 3-point game, and I think they gotta just start letting them play a little bit more.
Yeah, and I do want to walk back my statement a little bit, but I'm not saying I don't believe it all, but I do I do understand it's little. Yeah. It is a little conspiracy theory, you know what I mean? And so
yeah, you can see it from both sides.
I can. At the end of the day, the refs are paid
very
by
plausible.
the NFL. So if the NFL pays them a little bit more to do,
I don't think they're paying them more.
No,
I think it's very plausible that all these calls have happened But I'm just pointing out, this is what I'm walking back. I'm just pointing out the fact that the calls that they do make against other teams are in consequential situations where the calls against the Chiefs aren't. That's all I'm pointing out. I don't know if I'm walking back the part where I think it's intentional.
My whole worry about this is because I see the calls and you kind of think, you know, is that a call? Is that not? It's got past the point of coincidental, where, you know, the Chiefs are getting these favorable. I don't want to use that word because that's like the term. I don't want to say like, oh, they're favoring the Chiefs,
Right.
But they're getting these calls that are just, like you said, better for them situationally, and yeah, it's past the point of coincidence for me. But I'm just afraid that this is going to be a really good game. I feel it's going to be really good. I don't think it's going to be a Rams-Patriots type of Super Bowl.
I think both of these teams get a decent amount of calls going their
Yeah.
way. So
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean-
just afraid the refs will make one or two huge mistakes.
like
of
that
calls.
Bradbury call when they played last time.
Yeah, huge mistakes of calls that will cost one team the game, and more than likely it'll probably be the Eagles that are getting costed. And then there's a whole uproar in that as well. Then people will really start looking into, hey, what is happening here? Which the NFL doesn't want that. As much as controversy sometimes is, depending on it, is decently good for business because people start tuning in. I'm just afraid that one or two bad calls will ruin this game for everyone.
Yeah, like that Bradbury call is pretty much the core of my argument. Like, if there is a call in the last 2 minutes of the game that remotely could be looked at from both sides, you don't make that call. Like, if there's even a chance that that was playable and that fit the NFL guidelines, you don't make it. Yeah. You let them play. Because that decided the game in a Super Bowl. That is the culmination of that entire team's work down to the outcome of one play. And like I'm not going to say Bradbury didn't hold him. There is a case that he did hold him. But there's also a case that he didn't, and that's why you don't make the call. So, I mean, I'm excited to see like how the calls favor each of these teams in this game, because there's obviously like narratives for both teams to win this game, and there's obviously revenue to be made by both of these teams winning. So yeah, I could honestly see it going either way.
Okay,
Let's get on to something a little more fun.
Yeah.
What are you guys' MVP picks?
I mean, mine's not very fun. It's pretty much this past 3 years, but I think Patrick Mahomes plays. He has to play. I think you'll see later in the episode, but I think Pat Mahomes has gotten into the end zone very well this playoff run, and I think that's going to be a key factor. I think he's going to use his legs a bit more than he has over the past 2 Super Bowl wins, because Travis Kelce's getting up there. He hasn't shown his patented Travis Kelce skills this playoff run, and D-Hop's going to be an interesting addition, being as good of a red zone threat as he is, especially in a weaker, I'm not going to say weaker, but more average secondary for the Philadelphia Eagles. But yeah, I think Patrick Mahomes has a pretty solid game and a win, and like solid enough to win them in the game.
I think win or loss for the Eagles, Saquon Barkley gets the MVP.
Really?
Win or loss, because it's only
1971.
It's how yeah 71 is the only
Or is
time
it
that's
69?
happened. It was 71. But that's the only time that's happened. But I feel like he's gonna put on a performance in the Super Bowl to the point where it won't be like arguable that he was the best player in that game, whether the Eagles win or lose the ball game. I know they'd love to give it to Mahomes if the Chiefs do win again, or whoever the standout for the Chiefs was. But if there's a case of Saquon being undeniable, I think we might see it.
I don't know if Mahomes even puts up like 250, 2 touchdowns and a rushing.
If he has like a,
that's not nuclear like we've seen from him.
but I'll give it to him. I think.
But like that, you can't give it to somebody on the losing team when somebody puts up even like a 7 out of 10 stat line.
If Saquon gets close or encompasses 200 yards, I think
Damn, that's tough on Chris Jones.
200 is a lot of yards.
It's 200, but I think he'll.
How many passing yards is Jalen Hurts getting?
5.
Is he getting 200 yards and no touchdowns? Because Jalen Hurts punches in.
Yeah, I think Saquon will be closer to the 200-yard mark than he will be the 100-yard mark. I know it's on Chris Jones, but what Saquon's done to almost every team in the NFL this season, despite several notable D linemen trying to stop him, I think he'll have himself a day and he'll get MVP either way, they win or lose.
I do think if the Eagles pull this off, but Saquon's the MVP favorite.
Yeah, so I as picking the Eagles, I had Saquon Barkley, but I had a little bit more of a fun one because I think he's going to be really, really great in this game.
I want to hear this.
It's going to be Saquon Barkley, but if it's not, I think it could be Jalen Carter.
I have that, dude.
I think it could be Jalen Carter.
Carter's going to be a game wrecker.
Yeah, he's going to have a good game.
Jalen Carter is
People
so
forget
impressive.
that he was like a top 3 prospect in his draft, and the only reason he went 9th in the draft to the Eagles is because of that car crash incident.
And he's been
Like,
great.
it was him and Hutch
Yeah.
at the top 2 on the draft board, and then he dropped to 9.
And I think this entire Eagles defensive line is really, really strong. I think they're going to
The
give
fact
Patrick
that
Mahomes
it's been
problems.
built in the last 3 years is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Jalen Carter is sort of the center of that trident, and I think he's going to absolutely wash the offensive line of the Chiefs, and I think he's going to get at least a sack. I'm having visions of Von Miller strip sack is what I'm envisioning. As
I
Jalen
could
Carter.
totally see it.
That's what I'm envisioning as Jalen Carter in this game. I think he'll be a game wrecker, like you said, Cam.
Yeah. I can see him absolutely going off. So you have Jalen. Is Jalen Carter or Saquon your main pick?
I'll take Jalen Carter because you took Saquon.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so to wrap things up, we are going to share our hypothetical parlays for this game. Now, please note, we do not condone sports betting and are not in any way promoting it, but we are giving you our picks for Super Bowl Sunday as, a fun little thing just to add on to this podcast. Do not place these bets. I cannot stress this enough.
Diabolical
these
bets.
These are joke bets. Do not place these bets. They will not hit. We're just doing this for fun. Now, for this activity, we have all brought a 7-leg parlay.
I have a couple extra legs.
Yeah. And it can be about anything from, yards to the spread, whatever it is. So, who wants to start this off?
I can start off.
You got it?
'Cause mine's pretty cookie cutter. I mean, as we said, I think Jalen Carter's going to be a game wrecker. I think he's getting over 1.5 sacks this game, whether the Eagles win or lose. Jalen Hurts, I think he's getting under 210.5. I think he's still going to use AJ. You can't not use AJ Brown, Devontae Smith in a game like this. I mean, at the end of the day, he's not a huge pocket passer, pocket presence, or known to air the ball out, but he's got AJ Brown on his team. He's gonna get passing yards. I also do have both quarterbacks getting in the end zone. I think Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts have done really well, especially Patrick Mahomes with the lack of, I won't say lack of, but the less successful running game that he has. And he hasn't been known to rely on it as much, but he has this playoff race, and he's gotten to the end zone several times. Then Jalen Hurts, is known as one of the premier quarterbacks when getting into the end zone, whether it's using his glutes or his vision as a runner. He gets into the end zone at the end of the day. So I have both of them getting into the end zone for anytime touchdown. I do have Saquon Barkley getting over 110.5 rushing yards.
Easily.
I think that's a solid line. As I said, I do think they're going to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith more than people will recognize. I don't think they're going to rely on Saquon like they have to. I think they have a well-rounded enough offense to not have to use him as much, but I think he's still going to be the core of that offense. I also have Dallas Goedert going over 40.5 receiving yards. Jalen Hurts has used Dallas Goedert to the fullest of his abilities in the playoff runs that they have, and he's the veteran. He's been there the longest on the Eagles offense, and I think this will be his game to shine. Jalen Hurts Plays a lot of close inside routes with his receivers, and Dallas Goedert runs those very well. I think he's going to be less of a target on the Kansas City secondary when they're guarding Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Dallas Goedert's going to be the safety net for the Eagles passing game. And then I have Xavier Worthy going over 25.5 receiving yards. I think it's
a low line.
I mean,
That's a tiny line.
it's Xavier Worthy.
You might get that on a screen pass.
But it's Xavier Worthy, man.
They're going to pull out some trick plays for him.
I think they will, but they could also do that with Hollywood Brown. They could do that with Justin Watson if they want. But Xavier Worthy, I think you'll get a couple passes or a couple catches for over 25.5. I mean, it's hard to go higher than that when he's like debatably their third string receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, it might be a bit of a low line, but it's a 7-leg parlay. You got to.
Yeah.
Oh no! I'm not saying your line is bad. Is that the line on the
Oh no!
sportsbook? Oh, okay, that's just the line. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah. Because Lucky has about 10, I'm going to go next.
Okay.
I was saying the biggest for last. So mine are pretty basic. They're not like anything crazy. They don't involve any like lines or anything. Mine is Saquon Barkley, anytime touchdown scorer. That's, almost free money.
Yeah, it's a lock.
I have Kareem Hunt, anytime touchdown scorer.
Wow. Okay.
I like it. I was debating Kareem Hunt.
So now going on to the coin toss, it's going to be tails. I have the coin toss being tails. I have Jalen Carter to record a sack. Obviously, he'll have to get to Mahomes. A.J. Brown with the most receiving yards in the game, and Patrick Mahomes with the most passing yards in the game. And the Gatorade color, orange.
That's my pick.
I got
confirmed.
a weird Gatorade color for you.
You going purple?
No, I'm going white.
Oh,
Wasn't it white last year?
Yeah.
Back white.
I think.
you're
remember-
banking on the Chiefs winning,
Like
so it's white.
the Chiefs have gone weird Gatorade colors when they've won. They went purple against the Eagles. I remember that strictly because I guessed purple, and I think they went white last year. So I think they go white again. They've been known to not do generic Gatorade colors.
Well, I don't believe they're gonna win. So that's kind of me banking on the Eagles winning and picking orange.
We're on the Eagles. mindset,
Eagles
sort of
feel like a
things.
team to put orange.
They do.
I
I feel like
feel like
they
they're
always
basic.
have orange Gatorade.
I feel like they're the type to put lemon lime base.
It's gross. I hate lemon
I
lime.
debated green because like it'd be funny if they won the Super Bowl and their thing was
Like that watermelon flavor. Yeah.
or like when they mix like certain colors.
Oh my gosh.
All right, Lucky. That
Okay.
was all 7 of mine. Go ahead with your 25-leg parlay.
Okay, so first thing I've got is Jalen Carter just with one sack. Once again, I think that's pretty lockable. I think he'll be a terror for Patrick Mahomes all night. Saquon over 100 yards. I didn't add the extra 10 on that. I would. I think he'll go over 110 as well. I think Saquon is going to be essential to what the Eagles want to do on Sunday. I have one Patrick Mahomes interception. The last 3 Super Bowls, or like the 3 Super Bowls that he's been in so far, he's had one of the games, no interceptions. The other 2 plus picks. I think he'll have 2 plus picks more. I think he'll have one pick at least. I think that's a fair bet. Pacheco for a touchdown, so I didn't go Kareem Hunt. I do think they'll have a touchdown on the ground. I went Pacheco. I think he'll be featured heavily. I have under 48 points scored in this game. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. These are 2 of the best defenses in the league. And when you look at the Chiefs' offense, without Patrick Mahomes' magic, he's going to get you to 20 points. I don't think he's going to get you that much higher than that.
I really like that line.
Yeah, that's the real line. 48 points is the real line on the sportsbook.
I could definitely see like a 20-17 Super Bowl this year.
I think it's going to be. That's what I think it's going to be really, because both teams offensively have deficiencies, but defensively they're pretty stout.
Yeah,
and so I think they're going to score points. It's the Super Bowl. They're the two of the best teams in the league. They're going to score points, but they're not the most explosive offenses in the league. My other one is Kelsey under 50 yards. I don't know if that's too high of a line. I was debating going like under 40.
I mean, I could also see him going for like 75 and a touchdown, but yeah,
I don't think so.
I think
he's done.
50 is a good line.
I think Kelsey's done. I don't think he's got it left in him. I think he'll get one catch and everybody will be fawning over him for that, and Taylor Swift will come out onto the field or whatever. But
Mid game.
mid game.
Maybe a bad blood performance.
Oh, they're 100% lining that up. There's no way that's not happening.
No, I think Taylor Swift would just be like, no. I think she's
I'm
kind of
here to watch football.
She's kind of stiff arming the NFL in a way because I would have thought she would have been the halftime performer this year.
She could easily be the halftime performer every single year.
Imagine the one where she like guest performs at halftime.
There's a
The
higher
one the
chance we
Chiefs
see
lose.
SZA. There's a higher chance we see SZA.
Isn't that like guaranteed?
Yeah.
Is it guaranteed?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I heard a rumor about them getting a YG on the halftime show because Donald Trump is attending, so they're gonna sing FDT.
And then my final leg of the real parlay is Hurts tush push touchdown.
Word.
I think that's gonna happen. So my fun ones, I have Orange Gatorade as well. I have Kick of Destiny made.
By who?
What?
Isn't it Eli and Peyton doing it?
It's made. I don't know what's going on. The Kick of Destiny is going through those uprights.
I think they're doing a thing where it's Eli Manning versus Peyton Manning because
I think they're both making.
I saw something where they're like, predict who's gonna like do it.
They're both getting it.
Yeah, I had Eli going for that one, but
Okay.
I could be wrong.
I have under 6 Taylor Swift cuts throughout the game. I think they're trying to not feature her as heavily after the backlash of last
I do
Super Bowl.
think the Super Bowl has enough celebrities there to cut to somebody else other than Taylor.
They'll be.
I didn't know-
I agree. Yeah.
I don't know if the line should be 5 or 6. I put it at 6 just to be sure. I think 5 is possible.
I think it's going under 9. I'd say like 1 or 2 per quarter.
But I'm also not talking about like once the final whistle blows, once that clock hits 0, it can cut to her as much as it wants.
Right.
I'm saying during game
mid-game.
cuts.
Okay. Yeah.
There's no proposal between Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. No proposal.
Won't be until Kelsey's retired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going coin toss heads, and I guess that's it. Kendrick Lamar wins the greatest halftime performance of all time. That's my final pick. It's not even an award, but
Who's your
creative
greatest halftime performance beforehand?
beforehand? Michael Jackson.
Dude, The Weeknd was sick. The Weeknd from like 4 or 5 years ago. Oh my goodness.
I saw a YouTube video. It was like ranking all the halftime show performances, and like he was so electric. It was incredible to see how loud that stadium got for Michael Jackson. And so like I saw like a clip of that and them talking about it. I went back and watched it. It was insane.
Yeah, I did actually enjoy the Katy Perry one.
Really?
I thought that was a good one. I genuinely believed it was a decently good one. But you know, there's some like crazy ones in there. Like, but okay, so bragging points will be awarded to whoever gets, I guess, the most right. We're gonna have to clarify your 7-leg in general.
Yeah, no, my 7-leg is the real one.
Oh, you're just doing the real one. You're not having any of the silly ones on there?
I mean, you can add the silly ones if you want in, but I sort of added 2 extra legs in the middle of this podcast.
Okay, so
The real
they'll the Shutter Sports minions will make a a graphic and it will be posted because you know we're massive now. And what I didn't tell you guys is there may be a punishment for whoever did worst in the parlay.
Is
So
it
I
Gatorade
said,
dunk?
Taking more legs off, Lucky.
you have to go to the Super Bowl and you have to streak. No, do not do that. Just have to say that.
You have to.
Oh god. So stay tuned for that. Just so.
Stay tuned for streaking with the Shutter Sports app.
Watch the Super Bowl and look out for Lucky Roberts.
If you want to place a bet, place it now. Over have 0.5.
Take the over. I'd be out there over a minute. I'd dodge the security guards for over a minute.
How far on the field do you think you could get if
I'd
like
get across the field.
all the way?
All the way.
Like
End zone to end zone.
But like, what if Jalen Carter isn't too happy
Sam
with
Hubbard,
you? Like,
Sam Hubbard needed the oxygen mask when he recovered that fumble.
He might need an oxygen mask.
I
now.
would. I would need an oxygen mask. I would be fine. New Orleans, very very close to sea level. I'd be okay.
Like back of end zone to back of end zone, or
Like they're literally
not?
under the water in New Orleans. Like it's kind of crazy.
Do you know how muggy it is in New Orleans? You're gonna have no breathability.
But imagine the pop if he gets from one end zone to the other. Like imagine the stadium losing their minds at that.
I am like stiff arming security guards, like spin move. I'm telling you, hurdling. I'm hurdling a security guard.
Yeah, because they always go low.
Yeah.
They always go low. I've noticed that. Okay, like I just do have to put a disclaimer on this. We do not condone streaking at any sports event. This is all hypothetical. This is a joke. Lucky Roberts will not be in New Orleans, at least that I know of. But that's a I'm sticking that in my parlay. Lucky Roberts under 75 yards.
Dude, what are the odds on that right now?
Plus $1 million, considering he's currently in Ontario. He would have to get to New Orleans. Okay, so that is unfortunately all the time we have for today. Hopefully this episode has got you all ready for the Super Bowl. We ask that whether you agree or disagree to join the conversation in the comments on X at ShutterSportsM or Instagram at ShutterSportsM. Well, I've been your host, Austin Terry, joined by
Cam Sterling
and Lucky Roberts.
Thank you for listening, and we will see you probably in the next one, which will be in the off season.
And don't forget, streaking is bad.
Not good, and gambling's not good either.
Yeah, you're throwing away money.